The important thing to keep in mind is that everything in the statements themselves is the responsibility of Mr. Stevenson. That's management. Our responsibility is to the board, supervisors who work with you. We use generally accepted auditing standards to conduct an audit, and the conclusion of the audit is an opinion from us telling you whether the statements represent where you were at December 31st and how you got it. If you notice at the bottom of page 2, the auditor's opinion is unmodified. That's exactly what you would expect to see. Anything less than that is a financial catastrophe in any organization. So the township has two different sets of financial statements. The fund level statement. We've got the general fund. Last year we brought in $1,361,000. We spent $1,328,000. The fund balance last year went up by $33,000. We have an unassigned fund balance of $184,000, and then we have other money that has been designated for various purposes. And capital project, $508,000. We spent $102,000. That fund balance currently stands in at almost $1 million, $949,000. Liquid fuels, this represents the money that's given to you by the state as part of the sharing of the liquid fuels tax, gas tax. $138,000 last year, spent $61,000 of that. Our fund balance at the end of the year was $97,555. Now we'll go over to page 4. History of the fund balance, and this is the balance that you have available. As you can see, it's been fairly steady over the years, but it has climbed significantly in the last 2. Most of that has been due to Act 13 money. Now, while that's not sitting in the general fund, because we're able to use that money in replacement for other expenditures that this fund may have made, it allows the fund balance to continue to go up. The second thing that's been significant, and we'll look at a graph of this in just a moment, is the local wage tax. But the fund balance represents 43% of the 2014 budget. And that's a significant amount of money to have, but you are in a position in this township where growth is coming. Most of the time we don't like it, but when it does, we have to plan for it properly. And this fund balance, if you take a look at page 5, represents your ability to do those things. One, it's your working capital. Mary Ann will tell you that there's not a lot of money that comes in January and February. This is where she gets the money to pay the bills until the tax revenue starts. It's also your contingency fund. Probably a few years was better to illustrate than 14 the value of having some money in the bank, because every single local government we have as a client outstripped in both in terms of payroll and materials what it took to take care of the road. And it's also your contingency fund in the sense that the heavy use that our roads now receive, something could go wrong, you could end up with a bridge collapse or slippage in the road. You would have to fix that immediately, and you'd also need the money to do it. And again, this is where you would go for that. Lastly, it gives the 3 of you the ability to do the job that the voters put you here to do, and that is plan for tomorrow, make Mount Pleasant better tomorrow than it is today. If we go over to page 6, the most important financial decision that we make annually is your budget. Last year we brought in $260,000 more than we thought, under what we thought we would. The largest variance, apparently we were anticipating a grant or the Act 13 money hitting the general fund. So that didn't happen. We put all of that money into its own fund. Actual expenditures, we spent about $56,000 more than we thought we would. The largest variance there was noted in general government. Now if we go to page 7, this is a graph, red being the actual revenues and blue being the budgeted revenues. And if you look at the second set of bars up from the bottom, you can see that other local taxes well exceeded the budget that we anticipated. That is the result of Act 32 from 2008. It's been a stunning success. Our home school district brought in almost 2 million more than they ever anticipated they would. And again, it's because we have a law that now is evenly and consistently applied. I do taxes for people, and I would have clients sit in front of me and tell me I'd be filling out their local return, and they would say, well, you can fill that out if you like, I'm not going to pay it. And they knew that they could get away with that. So now, and again, there's going to be a point where that's going to level off. So I don't think we're at that point yet, but it has definitely propelled the fund balances of many of the local governments. Now, if we take a look at the expenditure side, you can see here, again, red being the actual revenue, blue being the budget, almost every line item is pretty much where we anticipated it to be. General government, the budget there was 228. It ended up being 285 in actual expenditures. That was the most significant variance. But again, it's pretty tight budgeting. For the most part, everything hit right where we expected it to go. We have two comments on the next page, and that is the contents of our management letter. Again, we're talking about fund balance. The township has a significant fund balance. That's part of your decision to decide and talk about what that fund balance consists of and what's appropriate for Mount Pleasant Township. I can tell you the smaller you are, the bigger the fund balance is necessary, because you can't recover and can't borrow money as quickly as another government that's much larger than you would be able to do. Investments in cash management, when you have money available, need to be handled properly in accordance with the state law. You're doing that now, but again, no one will watch your money like yourselves, so that is something that we encourage you to do. Lastly, we'd like to thank Mrs. Stevenson. She does everything that would be expected of her in the audit. Very courteous, very cooperative. Can't ask for more than that, and I think the supervisors should be pleased with that effort. Lastly, thank you all. We appreciate the opportunity to be the township's auditors. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them for you. If you don't have any right now, we certainly are available. Give us a call anytime you like. But thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Marion, that grant revenue, is that, we were anticipating something we didn't get?
I'm not really sure what that is.
Okay.
I think that was the Act 13 money that went straight into a bank account.
Okay.
A general
And if it
fund.
didn't end up in the general fund, that
Okay,
would
so
be...
that would, all right, that makes sense.
But it's not really, you've seen that before, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
Good, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Marion. Okay, with that, we'll open it up to the floor. We'll start at the front and work our way back, and anybody in the first row for public comment?
Paul Batista, 28 Johnston Road. We're talking about the Act 13 money, and it seems like last year after we talked about it, we talked about road resurfacing and stuff. And we talked about possibly putting a plan together as to what roads, getting together with Range, possibly find out if they had any road improvements coming up, and that if we didn't have to put the money into those roads, just like say Johnston Road where I live, then those dollars that we would normally spend for our fuel tax dollars would go someplace else. My question is, do we have a plan in place?
To this point, no. And the reason being, we do have monies aside. They've still been working on some roads, but we want to try to get that taken care of at budget time and maybe try to get some bidding out. There's been some roads identified, so we want to try to get the bidding out in the fall.
So
We're
identify
looking at
like, that's going to be your primary road that you're going to work on this year.
next year.
Or next year, okay, whichever. So you do have primary roads that you want to go in and to improve.
Right.
That range is not going to be working on. That,
Right.
I guess my question there. Second thing is Lee brought up the trimming of the grass last month, and I trimmed a lot of grass on Johnson Road this past weekend, and then the township mower came through. And I got no problem with taking care of that part of it, but there's areas that didn't get touched. And like by my mailbox and stuff, they mowed on the bank like Lee had asked. You go a little bit up the road, and there's areas that the trees are still out there on the road, across from Ted Dumansic's. So I'm just, you go like around Ted's and up there a little ways, there's some, but I just, since Lee brought it up, I mean, they are out there doing it, but just one of those things.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chris Loft, 317 Fort Cherry Road. A couple of weeks ago, I contacted Mary Ann about the possibility of having John Smith come in and do a presentation on the outcome of Act 13. I mean, as you recall, John was legal representation for Mount Pleasant Township and several of the surrounding townships. I had the opportunity to attend the presentation he made for Peters Township. It's very comprehensive. I think once you sit through it, you'll have a more clear understanding of what really the effects are on the township, things that we may have missed. It may help us also with developing our ordinances. But it lasted about an hour. It was for the supervisors and all the residents. And I think when you walked out, you had a different perspective than things that you read in the newspaper, more comprehensive. So I don't know if Mary Ann presented that idea to the group, but I would ask that the board consider having John come in. Don't know whether we charge us for doing that, since he was our legal representation, or if we would do free, but it would be something I think would be worth investigating. Second thing is, I was wondering if maybe at the reports section that someone could, or maybe you could do it now, give a status on where the appeal is for the notice of violation on the water impoundments in the township, which I think was elevated up to the Washington County Court of Common Pleas.
It's just, there's no movement in the court and no movement on settlement. Why the court's sitting on it, I'm not quite sure. There's been no settlement discussions that I'm aware of.
Thanks, Chris. Second row? Third row? Fourth row? Ma'am? Yes.
Elena Scott, 19 Wabash Avenue. I'm actually here also with Regina Schoen, and it's shown also from Wabash Avenue. We're concerned because our road has a 40-mile-per-hour speed limit, and we're right across the street from a community center. 4 bus stops just between the bridge and the intersection of Main and Wabash. Kids also playing up and down the street with bikes, scooters, skates, skateboards, daycare, playground, and basketball court. And cars are going anywhere from 50 to 65. And it's so dangerous, and every day I'm afraid that something is going to happen. So I was on the phone back and forth with PennDOT, State Police, and the very first step that has to happen is we need to request a speed study to be done, and they said I had to do that through my township. So I'd like to formally request a speed study done on Wabash, and I have that in writing, so I can drop that off here.
Do you have it with you?
I have it with me.
Okay. After the meeting, if you can, yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief?
Chief McCall from the police department. You guys have in your packet, and I see it's on the agenda, which is good, my opinion on the house number ordinance, how I think it should be laid out. Also, I know everybody's probably seen it in the paper. I think I just want to make sure, so we have a big crowd here tonight. We did have what we would classify as a gypsy scam last week in the township. somebody posing that they were from the reassessment office in Washington County. They got a woman out of her house while the partner went in and was able to remove belongings from the house. Just so everybody knows, Channel 11 actually did a really nice story tonight about it, and they got Tyler Technologies. Tyler Technologies is the company that's doing the reassessment for the county. They will have green reflective vests on, they say Tyler Technologies, and they will immediately identify themselves, and they have county IDs with their pictures on it. At no point do they need you to come out of your house. They may ask you a couple questions, but my understanding from speaking to the reassessment board and the tax office is they don't need to talk to you. I know how some people feel like I'm just coming onto the property, but there's no reason for you to be out of your house at all. If they tell you to come out of your house, or you have questions, don't hesitate to call 911. Same thing goes with somebody who says they're from the utilities. In our investigation, we had contact with Green Tree Police, who had a similar scam, and it was posing as a utility worker. Sherwood Police just had one on Monday, and it was somebody claiming to be an arborist looking to trim trees at the request of the neighbor. I never wanted to know where the property line was. So if you have a question, and you don't think it's legit, close your door, lock your door, call us. We'll come out and verify. And along those lines, Larry will test this. We have no soliciting permits again out in the township right now. So if anybody comes to your door selling something, they don't have a soliciting permit, they're in violation of local ordinance. And again, just give 911 a call.
Thanks, Chief. Anybody else? Okay. We have, I hear a motion to accept the reports as given.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move that we pay our bills for 6/25/14 to 7/29/14.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I move we accept the minutes of the June 25th, 2014 regular board meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I do. I have some discussion on it. I think they're way too long and way too wordy. I think they were 5 pages. I'd like to see them reduced to what's required by the sunshine. Just general discussion topics.
I personally think they were pretty complete, and they really did set the outset of the meeting. I don't see a problem in having something that's complete rather than something that's paraphrased and shortened. That leaves too much to people. You start reading shortened minutes and that leaves too many questions to be asked.
Well, I took the liberty of reducing them to what I deem to be the requirement from the requirement that is before us for the Sunshine Act. I don't know why I forgot about the Sunshine Act, but it's reduced to 2 pages if we do that. And essentially, it simply records the individual comments and what the comments were about, and the actions that were taken and how it was that the votes were cast. And that eliminates 3, is it 3 pages or 4? 3 pages.
I guess my question is, what's wrong with having detail in the minutes? That's
Public record, it's the only public record that we have.
Right.
That goes on. I think Citizens deserve detail.
Can we do it again?
Citizens are getting the videotape.
I personally was not aware of the videotape.
This isn't a discussion between the board and the citizens right now. This is between us. Thank
Do you
you.
follow Robert's rules?
We,
It's clearly defined in Robert's rules, what's it?
yeah, we're gonna keep it here.
Are we being videotaped though?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, I mean, that's,
That's
I
not
just
ours.
asked that.
That's not the township,
That's the
that's a citizen doing that.
Yeah.
So the citizens tape wouldn't really work for your official business?
No. That has to be done by the secretary.
Well, they basically, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, other than it takes probably 5 hours to write that, and I would like to have seen, watched how they did rewrite that, because there was things in there that were just, and I don't think it's necessary.
I agree. Recording everything that is said, from my perspective, we either do it according to the Sunshine Act, or we hire a stenographer to take down everything and pay them to do that. Trying to get everything down in this is a waste of good secretarial time, because it adds nothing whatsoever to what is required of the board. It is indeed a public record, but the primary thing about the public record that is necessary are the actions that are taken, and that is all that is essential.
And I don't think things should be paraphrased. I think they need to be accurate. But again, just to follow the Sunshine Act, since that seems to be the hot button for a lot of things nowadays, so. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Motion fails 2-1. I make a motion to approve the George Tower subdivision number 1 and sewage planning module at the intersection of Carter Lane and Walnut Road, subdividing a 5.1 acre parcel from an existing 11 plus acre parcel for a single family home.
Fold some of these for you. Let you do that one.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I want to see what they have.
Okay, this came before the Planning Commission. It was reviewed by by K2. The same usual list, the long list of things, which the Planning Commission took a look at. Several of those things were waived as unnecessary, as in previous subdivisions we've done. There were some that they wanted to get changed. I verified that those changes, in fact, were made to those drawings that you're looking at. And so we recommend, the Planning Commission recommends, therefore, that we approve that subdivision as you see it. If you have any questions, the applicant's here to answer anything you may have. That's at the intersection of Walnut and Carter.
Mm-hmm. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve. I move that we approve Resolution 2014P, a resolution providing for the receipt and appropriation of Act 13 revenue.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I also move that we approve Resolution 2014Q, resolution designating our chairman, Brian Smith, as the signatory of the PennDOT Winter Maintenance Agreement.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
My question, why do we have to, since he's the chairman, why do you have to have a motion?
Have to. Actually, you have to have a resolution
A resolution?
Yeah, I don't know.
every 5 years.
Every 5 years.
And it can change at any point.
Okay.
So, resolution
Typical
2014,
government.
yeah. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to renew the PennDOT winter maintenance agreement through 4/30 of 19 as drafted or with changes.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I do. And I think, Bill, you had talked to some folks from PennDOT
Today.
even before today. I mean, over the last number of years
Yeah,
regarding some of these roads.
yeah. And their hands are tied with respect to the gas industry doing damage and, they're out there experimenting, as he explained to me today, with different things on various roads. So, they have a personnel shortage and there's only so much they can do.
So you're taking up the slack.
Well,
Well, we've been doing this for years.
the
But they're
problem,
getting to the point where, our equipment's gonna suffer. I mean, I've tried to explain that to them, and I understand from their perspective too, that, they submit a budget to the higher ups and it gets chopped and finangled and so forth, and, their hands are tied at the lower level. But, some of those places, they ain't prepared before winter. We have good drivers, but we can't take a chance of them guys going off the edge of the road or, destroying a piece of equipment that we need through the course of winter.
Are you referring to like Hornhead Road?
Pleasant Road,
Hornhead
Hornhead, yeah.
Road. And I've called legislators complaining about Hornhead because somebody could get killed on that road if they go off that road. That's how bad it is.
Same way in Pleasant. I don't know if you travel that way or
I don't
not.
know if it's like Pleasant too much, but yeah, it's all washout too. It's really what it is. I don't feel like it's oil and gas washing the sides of those roads out. That's stormwater management.
when does this have to be signed?
Well, it's supposed to have been signed, but we have until September 15th to put in writing if we're going to drop any roads.
What's your
It just
recommendation?
delays payment. It was supposed to have been in the 25th of July. And he said that's the only thing that it does. That's the trigger point there. You don't get your winter maintenance money when you usually do, if it's not in by that date there.
If that is delayed, how bad will that affect getting started? Depends on how bad we want this. We're pretty well stocked up right now, right? As far as material.
When is that usually deposited?
End of September, beginning of October.
I think more of a concern to me, if we don't do that, the way the state's been plowing some of their roads, I think our residents are really gonna suffer. It's gonna become a safety issue for them.
Right.
Yeah, they essentially have 24-hour service, we don't. They even said it today, we don't want to bust up our equipment any more than you do. So that's telling me right there that, you know, they're aware of things that need taken care of.
What's busting up the equipment? The road itself, or just if you get off the edge, or?
Yeah, that, you know, I'll just use Pleasant as an example. The inlet portion of it has washed out to the point where it's eroding the road and it's falling away. And unfortunately, the guy said to me today from PennDOT, oh, I'm aware of that. I don't know.
Hornet's that close too. I mean, it's washing out to like almost right underneath the blacktop. And it's probably that deep. I sent pictures in with measuring sticks.
And McCarroll with the dips on the side of the road,
Well, I pointed out the pipe crossings on there that, you know, they drop like that.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm just concerned about snapping the plow frame, the spring. The unfortunate part about that is it's been like that for quite a number of years. And I think it's time, you know, to say, hey guys, you gotta do something there.
they're not, Fort Cherry Road, I know last year, they didn't even run their own trucks on Fort Cherry Road.
No.
They ran a contractor.
Cherry Valley Road's the same way, they had a contractor.
And that's probably why. Well, shorthanded too.
They don't have,
What's a plow cost? Total setup? Roughly. Just,
The plow and the frame or the hydraulic also.
if you had to put a whole plow system on a truck, what kind of number? Doesn't have to be exact.
It's probably for the frame and the plow itself, it's probably close to 10.
10 grand. So that's half of what we get, basically. I think
No, that's half of what
50.
we're looking to give up.
Yeah,
So there's around $20,000
Yeah.
that we would not receive from winter maintenance.
What's our alternative?
they plow. We give them back to PennDOT, they don't pay us for the liquid fuels on that mileage on the road, and they're responsible for taking care of it.
however.
They said they would do, you know, they said they would do, they just have to know ahead of time so that they can schedule their routes accordingly.
So are there routes that you think should be taken off this list?
I think that's the ones that are with the asterisks.
Yeah.
Wabash, McCarroll, and Pleasant.
Yeah, you started to ask before, Gary. You know what my opinion was? I think those ones, those three there with the asterisks on them should be given back to PennDOT. You always have the option next year of picking them up. You know, if they decide, hey, we don't particularly want to do these, maybe we better make some repairs on them and, you know, maybe they'll pick them back up. Which, like I say, you can do every year.
What they run the contract truck. Like you were saying about Fort Cherry Road.
That's possible. Depends
I mean,
on.
they'll still get plowed, but they're contract.
Right.
And I agree with you, it's not gonna be the service they
Yeah,
used to get.
that's my concern.
But
It's a safety issue.
they have to hit a state road at some point if they're driving in the township. We have another month. if we want to give it some more thought before we just.
Let me rescind my motion.
Just keep in mind, it's gonna delay our payment.
Are we okay with that? It's a month.
This is good with mine.
I move that we table the motion.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to table the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Tabled.
Make a motion to accept the resignation of Anthony Andronis as a part-time police officer effective immediately.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I move that we approve entering into an agreement with Pennsylvania Water to obtain their hydrant maps for the fire department.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Should the fire department get those?
Yes, that's so they can apply for their ISO certification.
Right. Are they gonna keep them?
No, they have to go in with the application to the state.
There was some goofy wording on the bottom of that. Did you read that thing thoroughly? There was some goofy wording on there about they have to be held in an undisclosed place. It was weird.
And they cannot be revealed.
Yeah,
in
they
a,
can't give them to somebody.
Request for Information Act. Yeah.
It's really weird.
It didn't make any sense at all.
Weird.
I understand what they need them for, but
If they don't get them, they can get the ISO certification to save everybody money on their insurance.
Right.
So,
Well, all I can do is call them.
Do we have any idea why
Very
that?
strange contract, I'm not sure it complies with the Right to Know Act, and they claim it does.
But we
And
don't
I didn't
why.
know that they needed it for a specific
yeah,
reason.
they're going for ISO certification. They have to have,
Well, I can call, but
because that'll be the first time with a new hydrant system for the ISOs.
I mean, Frank said that he's scheduled to come beginning of August. I don't know the exact date, but it was in the first week or two of August.
who's Frank?
Frank's already paid for it.
pay firefighter.
So he's coming where?
The ISO
He's coming to
is
the
coming to the
fire
fire hall.
to see them.
To take them.
Pennsylvania American Water won't give it to the agent. Will only give it to the governing body, which in turn we're gonna give it to the fire department to give to them.
But then they can request them back per that letter. They can request them back at any time and we have to give it back to them.
So, I
So
mean,
the letter says,
is it a public document if we no longer have it?
well, if you don't have it in your possession, yeah. I mean, if it goes to the fire company, and
There's nothing to produce if there's never a request, right?
when do they need this by?
So,
Soon.
like last week.
Before the next meeting, obviously.
And we'd ask
You
them.
did it before, right?
Never gave it to us.
I've seen them.
Well,
Yeah.
they showed them.
I thought we had one over, not for Mount Pleasant, but
For the fire department.
Yeah.
They showed them to us before, because the last year, whenever I came back in after Dawn, I wanted another copy, and Kevin Scott was supposed to get them. What else?
I say we pass this and then we
Pass
talk
it.
to them.
All right.
Just
Yeah,
pass
well, it's
it.
gotta be.
So we gotta get,
If it violates the Right to Know Act, then I think it's unenforceable. There's no consideration for this even. You're not even paying any money for it.
no.
You're not buying the maps
No.
from them. I thought it was just crazy when I read it, so.
I did too.
I
Good.
mean, if I were you, I'd pass it if you need it for the fire
We
company.
do
They
need it.
definitely
And
need it.
then I'll deal with whatever the fallout is, if there is any.
What if we were to amend the motion to say, move that it passes pending satisfactory resolution to the questions that we have?
I would just pass it. I would not complicate it.
Okay.
Motion on the floor and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to approve any, oh, we already did that comprehensive plan.
Comprehensive plan quotes.
Where are you reading it?
A discussion item.
Discussion item.
Do you
I
have it?
told you I added that.
Yeah, I brought mine, yeah, in the office, okay.
There's one right there.
That's okay.
You want this?
No.
Don't we see the one proposal from EPD?
I see HRG,
This one?
EP&D.
Oh, there it is.
And then what's the third one?
Yeah.
Two or three?
There's only two.
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 Oh, okay, K2's unable to make projects. Okay, so we have EP&D at 40,000 and HRG at 48,500.
And a letter from Brian Temple saying he can work with either one.
Okay.
And he has worked with both of them. So I'm walking, there he is.
Thought I saw you come in.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with both of them. Environmental planning and design, I know they've done, just for instance, they've done North Fayette Township's comp plan, they've done South Fayette Township's comp plan, they've done Collier's comprehensive plan.
I see North Strabane here too.
North Strabane, HRG in the past, I've worked with them, I mean, John's been here, but before John was at HRG, I worked with them on traffic impact fees and other things, so they're both reputable firms, and they both have a lot of planners on staff, so either way, I don't think we're gonna go wrong.
Has the commission seen these? And
No, we haven't seen either one of them, but I mean, it's up to you to select them. I mean, we've talked about it in the past, and just really wanted to move forward with the comp plans.
do you see any advantage to continuing